His colleague from Taguig, the city of Taguig and Pateros is recognized, Senator Pia Cayetano.
Thank you, Mr. President. A minute suspension, actually less, just to fix. Oh, it's already up. No need for the suspension, Your Honor. I just wanted my presentation to be ready. Mr. President, I rise today on a matter of personal and collective privilege. My speech is about vape flavors and designs which are attracting our youth, which are very attractive to our youth. Just a quick background, Your Honor. On December 12, a month ago, barely a month ago, December 12 last year, we marked the 10th year anniversary of the passage of the Sin Tax Law, which is Republic Act 10351. I was there to celebrate this landmark bill along with members of the Department of, officers, former Secretary of Department of Health, health advocates, and even youth leaders who have worked for the passage of Sin Tax Law. You will recall, Mr. President, that this Senate has taken a strong position on taxing products that are harmful for health, particularly products that are targeted at the youth. And we use sin tax, we use the increased prices of sin products to prevent access. So marami akong kilala na maraming kwento, Your Honor, and we have the data now to show that with the sin tax that we have imposed over the 10 years, nabawasan yung naninigarilyo. So that is good news for us, Mr. President. I wanted to report that because this is part of our oversight function. We have been effective in lowering the number of people who smoke cigarettes. But I go now, Mr. President, to a new product, a novel product, which is the vapes and the e-cigarettes. And in that photo that was just being flashed, it shows me holding a sample of a vape product. Our colleagues are familiar with the position I've taken from the very start, that the e-cigs regulation law that we passed repealed the very important provisions in the Sin Tax Law, which would have ensured or further prevented the youth from being exposed to the vice of vaping. Under the Sin Tax Law, which was the provisions that I'm referring to are the jurisdiction of the FDA, number 2, the age of 21 na binabaan sa 18 under the e-cigarettes regulation law, and third are the flavors. So this speech, Your Honor, is about the flavors. We have lengthy discussions, debates, and I think many, if not all, of the senators will agree that even if you're a non-smoker, obviously, we are human beings. Pag maganda sa mata, we are attracted. Kung maganda sa pangdinig natin, we are attracted. And when it is something that is flavorful, we are attracted. So in the Sin Tax Law, the provision of law was that only tobacco and plain menthol are allowed. Under the e-cigarette regulation law, this was amended. Tinanggal itong very clear prohibition na to, and the provision that was passed is this. I will read it into the record. The sale of vaporized nicotine and non-nicotine products and novel tobacco products that are packaged, labeled, presented, or marketed with flavor descriptors that are proven to unduly appeal, particularly to minors, shall be prohibited. A flavor descriptor is presumed to unduly appeal to minors if it includes a reference to a fruit, candy brand, dessert, or cartoon character. So I will repeat, kung ako ho sana ang nasunod, we should have retained the Sin Tax provision that simply said no flavors are allowed except yung regular flavor na tobacco and menthol. So ngayon, with this Section 12, it says that we are regulating it. Bawal ang flavors that are appealing to the youth. And they presume that flavors are unduly appealing to the youth if there's a reference to fruit, candy brand, dessert, or cartoon character. I direct the attention of the body to my next slide. these are the flavors now. O hindi ba direct violation yan? Ano yan, Lon? O prutas yun? Ano pa ba yun, Mr. President, kung hindi prutas? What are these others? It's a freaking skateboard. Sino ba nagsiskateboard na may edad? Well, there are a few, actually. But predominantly, skateboarders are young people. The colors are bright, orange, purple, green. May picture, Lon, may picture ng blueberry ba yan? Blueberry. And may I ask the majority floor leader to help me out? I don't know. Lemon, ano yung nasa dilaw? Tama ba? Mango? Oh, but it's still a fruit. Your Honor, this is very clear. I read the provision of law. A flavor descriptor is presumed to unduly appeal to minors if it includes a reference to a fruit. Hindi ho ba reference to a fruit ito? Toha ba yan? Okay. So, Mr. President, under the ESIG law that I did not vote for, pero I tried to strengthen it na rin kasi I knew, ito na yun, my dear colleagues, dito tayo dadating. So, against my objection, it is DTI that has the jurisdiction. So, I will also inform our secretary, but I assume that my speech will be delivered to the proper entities. Ito na, it's a direct violation. What are we doing about it? Next slide.
Should instruct the secretary.
Next slide. Look at this, dear colleagues. It's freaking Hello Kitty. Alam pa ni Majority Floor Leader. My Melody ba yun? My Melody, right? Wow, alam na alam. Diba? So, Mr. President, it is so. And then, Pokemon. So this is what we're confronted with, no? We were talking about, in last week's hearing, our dear colleague, Senator JV, had a hearing on PhilHealth where we're discussing what rates we have to impose to ensure that PhilHealth can deliver financial support to our health institutions. On the one hand, papakahirap tayo supporting our health workers, and then on the other hand, okay lang sa atin na may ganito. Sinabi ko na po, ito talaga mangyayari sa atin. M&M, Skittles, those are the packaging materials of the products that are out there, Your Honor.
As you can see, my dear colleague, we're getting a lot of reaction from our,
Yes.
not only our colleagues, but even the Secretariat. If it pleases our dear colleague, and I would make this suggestion to the majority leader later, that we adopt an unnumbered resolution today, asking, of course, condemning all these products being sold in the market, and imploring the DTI to implement the law to the letter.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Do that right to your speech.
We appreciate the very proactive response from the Senate. Anyway, Your Honor, I don't know if I have more photos, but I'd like to put this on record now. Currently, we have an estimated 2.7 million Filipinos who are using e-cigarettes or vaping devices. A few months ago, I got wind of the fact that there is now such a thing as disposable vapes, which will make it also very cheap to the youth and to Filipinos. There is also more and more research coming out showing the harmful effects of e-cigarettes and vapes. And there is even one report that I read that very distinctly said that it appears to be more harmful, more damaging to the lungs than cigarette smoking. So that's all I have been trying to say from the very start. This is a new product. Hinay-hinay lang sa pag-endorse. Yun lang naman yung ayoko mangyari. We treat this product as the savior when there is no evidence yet that it is safer for the youth, even for the senior citizens. Again, I cannot control the behavior of adults, but it is still our job when we legislate that we don't allow these products to be marketed indiscriminately to make it appear as if it is safer. And now we can see the evidence that they are really targeting the youth. Why do they target the youth? Because that's their future market. The minute you hook a young person, kliyente mo na yan for the next 20, 30, or 40 years. That's why they're targeting in this way, Mr. President. So, In 2020 also, Mr. President, we have already recorded 2,807 cases of e-cigarette or vaping use-associated lung injury, otherwise known as EVALI. But this is not in the Philippines per se. No, this is I'm not sure if this is U.S. or worldwide because this is John Hopkins. So, but the point is documented na rin. There is already a name to this disease: e-cigarettes or vaping use-associated lung injury, otherwise known as EVALI. So that is now an ailment that is now being monitored carefully. So, Your Honors, I conclude. I thank our colleagues. I thank the Senate President for the immediate response. Hindi pa tapos yung speech ko, may action na. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President. As Chairperson of the Senate Committee on Sustainable Development Goals, Innovation, and Futures Thinking, it is our responsible to track our progress for these 17 goals. And goal number 3 is good health, ensuring healthy lives and promoting well-being for all at all ages. So we cannot close our eyes to the fact that this product, which we have legalized, matagal na nating na-legalize because we did not prohibit it, and yet we passed a legislation that weakened the regulation, is now out there. So I will continue to bring this to the body's attention so that we can do our little part ensuring that it does not do further damage to our youth and to the Filipino people. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much to distinguished colleague for pointing this out to us and putting this in the Senate floor and making us aware of this happening today. Majority Floor Leader.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, with the indulgence of my ate, our good friend, Senator Pia Cayetano, if I may just be allowed to ask 1-2 questions, Mr. President.
Of course, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, first of all, at the onset, let me congratulate our dear colleague for raising this very alarming issue, Mr. President. And let me also put on record that she's not alone. She's not alone in this fight. And if you look at page 17 of our Senate Journal, December 13, 2021, this representation voted with her so that the jurisdiction under DTI be placed under FDA. It is also in that particular journal, Mr. President, that this representation voted strongly against flavors, Mr. President. Because, Mr. President, I remember during the discussion of the measure, in the United States of America, their FDA rejected at least 55,000 flavors
Yes.
from 500 applications. And that's why I was so passionate about it, Mr. President. And I am sure a lot of us are now thinking perhaps we should look into this matter, especially with these flavors, especially with the packaging that they are using right now, Mr. President. When I saw my melody, Mr. President, I was so shocked because my daughter, who is 10 years old, pag nakakita po ng ganung packaging, hindi na niya alam kung ano yun, bibili na
It
po
doesn't
kagad
matter,
yun.
right? It's the
Exactly,
packaging.
Mr. President. Again, Mr. President, let me also state for the record, on the same journal that I'm talking about, page 17 of December 13, 2021, this representation also voted against the age requirement, Mr. President. We were pushing for age 21, Mr. President, at that time. So I just wanted to put that on record. And for my first question, Mr. President, in implementing the law, the distinguished lady made mention about EVALI, 2,807 cases, 68 deaths. Dito po sa atin, in implementing the law, may we know if we have a data that gives us at least a clear view right now how many were penalized in the sale of vapes with flavors?
I have not read any reports, Your Honor, so I hope that we can have a hearing on this so that we can find out how this is moving along, because it is very important that we implement this always in favor of protecting health. Yun lang naman ang gusto ko, di ba? Like, regardless kung sino na yung na designate as the agency involved, they must always work in the interest of protecting health. Yes, I know DTI, which is why I was against DTI having the jurisdiction, is if you look at their mandate, it's to promote trade and industry. So there is a direct to me, conflict with their mandate now, which is to promote health. Pero ganun eh. Ganun ang ginawa ng Congress. So, they have to, perform that function because Congress has designated them to do so. They did say, however, that they will work with DOH, and I'm sure DOH is very happy to support them on this. But this is an anomaly, Your Honors, because in my humble practice as a new lawyer, the law firm that I worked for would receive complaints. We represented a soft drink brand, and they would refer to us complaints that they would receive. If it is with regards to the product itself, yung kunyari, there's something wrong with the product, no? Let's say, may lumulutang na something dun sa loob ng soft drink. Sa FDA yung complaints nun. Pero yung consumer complaint regarding something else that has nothing to do with the product itself, it will go to DTI. So that's what I kept on explaining during the previous Congress, na that is the function, that is how DTI and FDA work together. Pero ngayon, napunta na sa DTI, so I call upon DTI to implement this, to perform their function.
Thank you, Mr. President.
So wala pa ako, to answer your question, wala pa akong narinig, but maybe we can find out.
But considering that this is clearly a health issue, and that's the main reason why this representation voted with you, Mr. President, because I believe this is a health issue.
Yes, I do too.
And I remember, Mr. President, during the interpellations, this representation actually raised some of the issues that needed to be monitored. For instance, the selling of this products within the perimeter or nearby universities and schools. If I'm not mistaken, at least about 200, 300 meters away from schools and universities. Mr. President, yun yung dahilan kung bakit sinasabi natin na kailangan yung mga flavor na gagamitin dito, hindi talaga pang-attract o pang-engganyo sa ating mga kabataan na hindi na nga nagyoyosi, tuturuan pa natin silang mag-vape. Which is ridiculous because unfortunately, still, until now, Mr. President, a lot of people are misled and confused because they thought, there's this wrong notion that vaping is okay. And it's not a health hazard at all, Mr. President, which is ridiculous. I'm so concerned with the way they are promoting it, Mr. President, because this representation also made sure in passing that law that there will be a provision there that even promo girls will be prohibited to be used by these companies in order to promote such product, Mr. President. So again, I wonder what DTI is doing about this. Just recently, if I'm not mistaken, and if the distinguished lady would recall, I once told her about this, that there was an event somewhere in Makati where promo girls are going around asking young people to try vaping, Mr. President.
I don't know what to say, Mr. President. Our majority floor leader and I are aligned in our exasperation, in our dismay, but at the same time, I cannot even be surprised because I was sure that this would happen, Your Honor. I was sure that this would happen. Bawal kung sa bawal, pero nangyayari because we're creating this climate na okay lang. And it's not okay lang. And I hope every member of the Senate will stand up and say it is not okay. If I may also add, I remember sharing with our colleagues that when I went to the UK to study how they were addressing cigarettes and vapes also, I was told by Public Health England that they have had success in turning off the youth to cigarettes. So the uptake of the youth in the UK is very low because they have been successful. They have implemented many of the recommendations to prevent cigarette smoking among the youth. Okay, so good yan. In fact, if you go, I shared this also, if you go into a convenience store, you will not see it because they have the no selling at point of purchase. Bawal i-display. So I remember, I wanted to buy a sample of a cigarette and I kept forgetting kasi precisely sa araw-araw na pumapasok ako sa convenience store to buy something, wala kang ngang nakikita. Kaya hindi ka ma-entice, hindi mo nga maaalala yon. Unlike sa atin, kaliwat kanan, nandyan ang mga mga sin products. So that's one thing we should seriously ask ourselves if we're willing to take these bold stands, no? Na not to put in our face and in the faces of our children these products that are harmful to them. In other countries, I think Canada, there are standalone stores na dun ka lang makakabili ng sin product. You cannot buy it. It's not in a secluded area in the store. No, it's in a standalone place where sin products are sold. So hindi madadaan-daanan ng bata at ng teenager pag nag-grocery shopping or mautusan ng nanay o tatay bumili ng gatas, makabili na nga rin lang ng sigarilyo at nandito lang yon. So ganon sa UK. And then, they said that since walang uptake sa youth ng cigarettes, then perhaps the older people who have been hooked on cigarettes might benefit to switch to vapes. Proven ba na walang harm? Nope. Wala pa silang proof na walang harm yon. Pero baka naman mas makatulong. O ngayon, that was more than, when was I there? 2019. O ngayon, may mga news articles na biglang nag-spike ang mga young people and the youth using e-cigarettes. That's what happens. You introduce a sin product in the market. The youth are the first to try it out. It becomes novel for them. It becomes exciting for them to try it out. So even in the UK, na nakontrol na nila yung cigarettes, o ngayon, they will now have a generation of vapors. And I don't want that for our country, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I cannot agree more with the statements made by our distinguished colleague. As the national chairman of the Kristiyanong Kabataan para sa Bayan Movement, one of the biggest youth organizations here in the country, Mr. President, we are so much aware of this dilemma in addressing this particular concern with regard to vaping, especially the flavored vaping program of these companies. Mr. President, I would support any move coming from the Senate. I distinctly heard the suggestion of our Senate President to come up with an unnumbered resolution and denounce this program, Mr. President, of these companies, and which are obviously violating the law here in Congress. But one last question that I'd like to ask our distinguished colleague before I give the floor to some of our colleagues who may wanted to ask questions. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, is there a mechanism at all where our government agencies like DTI, who is now in charge of monitoring and regulating this particular initiative, would have a no-nonsense monitoring program in the selling of these products, these vapes, Mr. President? Because it's obviously, I mean, what our distinguished colleague showed us this afternoon, with regard to the promotions, with the, what do you call that art and the marketing strategy that they are doing right now, it's really not acceptable, Mr. President. I have a daughter, 10-year-old daughter. Again, I would put it on record. If my daughter would see that my melody, something like that, which looks like a keychain, Mr. President, she would ask me to buy that particular product without knowing that it's actually a vape. So, Mr. President, I just wanted to ask, because if DTI would tell us they have no way to really do their job despite the law, then we should do something. Should be sensitive to the needs of our government agencies to ensure the protection, especially the protection of our young people whom we consider the heroes, the hope of our motherland. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you for that question, Your Honor, kasi it forces us to think about the implementation of the law and to call the attention of our agencies. Your Honor, Section 23 of the law, the vape regulation law, states online sellers and distributors of vaporized nicotine and non-nicotine products or novel tobacco products and online platforms that are non-compliant with Section 8, yun nga, yung sa pinag-usapan natin ng mga attractive to the children, shall be ordered by the DTI to immediately suspend trading of products and shall be liable for the fines and penalties imposed under this section. Suspension will continue until the manufacturer, seller, distributor, or online platform has complied with the requirements provided herein. So very clear naman tayo, Mr. President. Siya ayokong dumating sa ganon kasi meanwhile harm is done and syempre we are a country that follows due process in as much as gusto kong pasara ka agad yan. But DTI does have those powers and they must use those powers to protect the Filipino consumer.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Clearly, DTI has a lot of explaining to do as to why they are not implementing the law, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, dear colleague. At this juncture, I will, Mr. President, our distinguished colleague, Senator Jinggoy Estrada, would also like to ask some questions. I move that he be recognized, Mr. President.
To a distinguished colleague from San Juan City, Senator Jinggoy Estrada is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will my beautiful Kumare yield to only one question?
Of course, Mr. President, we are happy to respond to our colleagues' questions, observations.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I am a bit confused. May I ask, which is more harmful, cigarette smoking or vaping?
That's a very good question, Your Honor. In the previous question, we had lengthy debates on this. Precisely why we cannot endorse the use of vapes and e-cigarettes, of all of those novel products, because precisely they are new. We do not have enough evidence to prove that they are actually safer. And that is the position that Philip Morris and other companies that are promoting vapes and cigarettes and e-cigarettes would want us to take. Safer to, dito tayo. But yun lang naman ang sinasabi ng mga health advocates, which includes this representation, na hindi pa nga tayo sure, kaya you cannot make those claims. Now, as I have always said, Your Honor, if they want to make a claim that this is a harm reduction product, there is a mechanism for that. They can go to the FDA and say, this is the proof, this is the evidence, may process po yan, na harm reduction to. Ito po yung mga nicotine patch. They will prove that this nicotine patch has proven to be a harm reduction product, therefore allow us to put it on the market and market it as an alternative. Pati ho yung nicotine gum, ganon. They can do that, but they refuse to do that. They do not register it as a harm reduction tool, but they just want to make those claims, and they are making those claims against the law.
You know, the reason why I ask this question is because there are a lot of cigarette smokers who switched to vaping, thinking that it is less harmful.
Correct.
Not only outside, wag na tayo lumayo, dito na lang sa Senate. There are a lot of former cigarette smokers here who switched to using vape, no? Thinking that again that it is less harmful. That is why I think I am the only remaining senator is using the smoking room there, because a lot of my colleagues
Have switched.
have
Made the
switched
switch.
to vape,
Yes.
thinking na mas less harmful to sa kanilang
Last man standing po kayo.
alam mo, I have never used vape in my entire smoking career.
So, Your Honor, Your Honor's observation is correct. I verify that I know from seeing, from chatting with our other colleagues who were former smokers and now using vapes instead, that they have made that switch. And our colleague, Senator Ralph himself, when he defended the e-cigarette regulation bill, now law, said that on his own, he can honestly say that he feels healthier. And I told our colleague, as I tell all our colleagues, I'm happy for you that you feel healthy, but I'm telling you, as a student of vapes, that there is no proven evidence yet that that is actually healthier for you. So as adults, if they want to make that choice and they want to believe, that's like there is this debate, what is healthier? Olive oil, butter, avocado oil, canola oil. You can look at the evidence, you can see the different arguments, but until the science is very clear which one is healthier for you, as legislators, we cannot just decide to say, we cannot give a go signal if there is no clear proof. And that is why we have decided that it is not a prohibited product. If they want to make the switch, they can. But the manufacturers and the retailers cannot make those public claims until they go to the FDI and register their product as a harm reduction tool. They should be willing to do that if that's the claim that they want to make. On that note, Your Honors, I would like to share this with you. Ito yung sinasabi ko a little earlier today. Vaping causes lung damage just like smoking, according to new research. This article came out on January 25. So ito lang, I won't read na the details. I can share this with all of you. Pero yan ang lumalabas na findings. E-cigarettes, potentially harmful. PET images show greater, I emphasize,
Greater.
letter ER,
Greater harm.
lung inflammation. Greater lung inflammation in e-cigarette users than cigarette smokers.
O
So,
di, okay lang pala.
I was going to say, Your Honor, off the record, na baka mas okay nga kayo, my dear Senator Jinggoy. But I cannot say that pa rin naman kasi
Of course.
it would be reckless for me to say that. But I'm just reading, di ba? You draw your own
That is the
conclusion. Yan ang
findings
sinabi.
from where?
Let's read the article, Your Honor.
Because if you tell me that vaping is
Yeah.
is less harmful,
So,
then I will switch right
Mr.
away.
President, this is also what's very important about evidence, no? When we have, and sadly, I have had this experience, when we have colleagues, and I'm not referring to you, Your Honor, who refer to their own experiences as science. No, that is anecdotal. That is anecdotal. That is not science. So ito, I am proud to say na when I read something to you, it is a peer-reviewed publication, which is the norm in science. Hindi porke merong study, even if I say there is a study, because everyone can come up with a study, until it is peer-reviewed, that is the only time that fellow scientists will look at it and say, uy, okay, baka may laman yan, di ba? Kasi peer-reviewed. So this is a peer-reviewed publication by the Society of Nuclear Medicine and Molecular Imaging. Kasi nga, it refers to the PET imaging eh. So there probably
Study
would be
here
others.
in the Philippines?
No,
or
Your
abroad?
Honor, this is the US.
Okay.
Yes.
So they confirmed that vaping is more harmful than cigarette smoking. Is that
Based on
is
the
that what I'm-
imaging. Based on the imaging. Kasi
Yes.
sila po ay nuclear medicine and molecular imaging.
But there is no study yet.
Well-
Aside from that, aside from what you just read.
Baka may iba pa. I'm just saying this is what I've read that states that
Kasi alam ko,
e-cigarettes are potentially harmful. PET images show greater lung inflammation. So that's the finding of this study.
kasi alam ko parehong may chemicals yan. Mas marami pa yatang chemicals itong vape.
Yun
kaysa
nga
rin
po
sa
yung
tobacco.
yun po yung sinasabi nung health advocates against the e-cigarette companies na don't be don't be in a hurry to endorse that because these have so many chemicals that interact with each other, and when you inhale it, that's inside your body already. So
Correct.
that's exactly what they were saying. Don't be so fast to give it a sign of approval na safer yan for us.
So is it right to join my colleagues to join me in the smoking room instead of using vape?
Actually, Your Honor, I'm aware that there is a long-standing debate now on the use of a smoking room by the smokers and the e-vapors. Both refuse to be with the other, from what I'm told, Mr. President. So it becomes a dilemma, honestly, for establishments na papatayo pa sila ng isa pa, So I don't pretend to have the answer, but the way the e-cigarette regulation law was worded was it provides for guidelines if an e-vaping room would be established. But I believe it was not mandated that it must be established.
Okay. With regard to the vapes, I saw your presentations. There are a lot of vape products that has been,
That look very cute.
yeah, yung, ano yun? Hello Kitty,
Hello
yung mga
Kitty, My
chocolates,
Melody, Pokemon.
M&M's, Kitties.
Oo.
Hindi ba natin pwede lagyan script warning yan?
Actually, Your Honor, thank you for mentioning that. It is in our law na meron naman picture-based warning
As
din
long
yan.
as it can be proven that vaping is detrimental to our health.
Yes, meron naman po. It is required. And so, I appreciate His Honor's question kasi based on the pictures I showed, mukhang wala rin naman sila ng graphic health warning.
Yes.
But that is also required. So thank you for bringing that up because we also bring this now to the attention of DTI na kailangan din may
Yes.
picture-based warning yan.
I will, if there is a resolution or bill passed, I will automatically vote for you.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Mr. President.
Okay. That's all, Mr. President. Thank you
very much. Our
gentle lady
distinguished,
from
thank you very much, sir, distinguished colleague.
Thank you.
We'd like to recognize the minority leader, distinguished minority floor leader, Senator Aquilino Coco Pimentel III.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me congratulate and commend our colleague who has been very passionate about this issue for bringing this up to our attention because in all honesty, I had no idea about what was happening in the vape industry and vape market, Mr. President. So, thank you for bringing this up in a very short and direct to the point privileged speech. And with Her Honor's permission, I'd like to ask some questions.
Of
related to
course, we're very happy to listen to His Honor's, the minority floor leader's questions and happy to respond if we have the answers.
Thank you for giving us some pictures.
Yes.
Are those products available in the Philippine market? Is that
Yes,
the-
in particular online. I had wished, kasi I dapat last week pa ho yung speech ko, I was also not in a hurry to deliver it because I wanted to bring samples. Pero according to my staff, matagal yung delivery. Na-order namin, pero hindi pa dumating. When they come, then I will, I'll just make a manifestation and share it with you. But all of these, we found online. And if I may just add, no, you'll be surprised, dear colleagues. Yung mga payment apps, I won't mention the name, but I have one in my phone. Pag wala akong pera, I'm very happy to use the payment app. I scan and pay. Aba, may pop-up din. May pop-up din na ads nun. I mean, wow, it's everywhere, Your Honor, the ads of these,
Vaping
it may
ads.
not be these products, but
Yes,
it's vaping ads, Your
yes,
Honor.
an ad promoting a vaping device.
Yes.
And maybe
Before I can access my payment app, magpa-pop yung ad nila.
So are these also, from your research, Mr. President, are these also available in the physical? Because you have physical
Yes.
stores, di ba? So
Ah.
we have this parang,
My Melody, Sanrio,
May Melody ba
Sanrio
to?
products.
For-
Malapit ng makook ang inyong Little Princess minority floor leader sa mga ganyang products.
and then I saw an M&M's and Skittles,
Skittles,
and
yes.
may Häagen-Dazs pa yata. Ay, parang I saw it or...
Ito,
But
Andrea,
yes,
you're right, you're
uh,
right. Your Honor has
yes.
better eyes than me because I did not even notice that Häagen-Dazs pala
may
yung
Oreo
last.
pa po, Oreo.
And Oreo,
No. Are these available in the physical stores?
So, what I can tell you, Your Honor, is these particular items were found online. I know that there are similar ones. As to whether identical, I cannot give an answer, but there are similar products that violate the law that are in physical stores. I will ask my team to maybe purchase a few so that we can also check, Your Honor.
And then, Mr. President, when a manufacturer of a vaping device would mark the device with M&M's, that's a trademark of the chocolate
may violation.
company. So most likely, this is also an illegal use of the
Of course.
trademark of M&M's and of Skittles. So,
And along with the Sanrio products, trademark din naman ho
so is
yun.
pati Sanrio, oo
Oo.
nga. Yes,
So-
everything, yes.
So I would imagine, Your Honor, these products would either be online and in small stores. In fact, my staff told me that you can find these kind of products, not necessarily these designs, no, but these products that are attractive to the youth and most likely have violation of trademark rules also, laws also, in the Tiangge, Your Honor.
May Starbucks pa nga po.
Saan yun?
Sa yung nasa right side po.
Yeah. It looks like our water bottle, no, with the coffee brand logo.
Okay, so Mr. President, if we have clearly established this afternoon that vaping products which appeal to the youth because of their color combination and the use of trademarks related to candies, to desserts, and some consumable items attractive to the youth. And these are clearly violative of the law, and they are available in the Philippine market either through online ordering and delivery and physical stores. Therefore, I think it's time to hold accountable the government agency which we authorized or gave the power to regulate the vaping industry. So, di ba yun yung sa change of the law, we got it from FDA, we gave it to the DTI.
Yeah, so
And
we hold
before-
them accountable now.
Yes, we have to hold them accountable now. And because when this was being discussed on the floor, I asked the then DTI secretary, kaya nyo ba? Sagot niya sa akin, kaya. But this is proof na hindi kaya or mukhang hindi kaya. So we have to find out, Mr. President, the real situation on the ground. How bad is it and how unregulated is the vaping industry in spite of the law. Nagano na nga yung law from the very strict rule limiting the flavors to 2, we relaxed it by putting in the description of the prohibited descriptors. So ganun ang approach natin. Instead of a positive list, ang list natin is you can use your imagination except the following. Ganun ang nangyari. But apparently we are failing.
Parang ganun, Your Honor,
We are
because even I had the problem with like the way His Honor phrased it was correct. Yung bang sabi ko, ang klaro-klaro na ng ating limited flavor provision, tobacco flavor and menthol. And then sabi ko, here we are, we opened it up, as Your Honor said, we gave them a license to use their imagination except may prohibition tayo. O ngayon, blatantly, na-violate yung provision na yun. They're not even trying to be creative, Your Honor. They just blatantly violated the provision.
Yes,
If I may,
ito,
if I may.
yes, sir.
You're a top-notch lawyer, you're one of the bar top-notchers. There's no debate here. It's illegal.
Yes,
Yeah.
Your Honor.
That should be banned.
Yes.
They should follow the law.
Yes.
And if they don't, we should penalize them.
Yes, Your Honor.
Simple
Yes,
discussion.
I agree, Mr. President. So that's why I'm very thankful
Yes.
to our colleague because she brought this up. And kung ganyan ang nangyayari sa ground, and that's what our colleague is reporting to us, violation po ito, klaro.
Klaro.
Wala na pong debate. And siguro, yun na nga, siguro if we are going to adopt a numbered resolution, can we also require the DTI to explain what is happening, Mr. President?
What we could do, Your Honor, is aside from adopting a numbered resolution with the sense of the Senate, no, urging the proper, in this case, the Department of Trade and Industry, to fully implement the law condemning the sale of all these
Yes.
particular products in the market, which is violative of the law that we passed, the particular Republic Act that we passed. That will be the sense of the Senate. Then we will now refer, with the permission of the body, the speech of the good lady, Senator, if the body will allow me to make the proposal, of course, to the majority floor leader, to her committee, para siya yung lead committee, the SBSDG, with Department or the Committee on Trade and Commerce as secondary, so that she's the most passionate one on this particular issue. Let's give her the lead so that we can see results when she calls these departments. Hindi nila mabola-bola yung ating colleague from Taguig. Kaya maganda na siya na mag-lead yan, and she'll put them in their proper place. And then when the results come out, we can come up with a committee report. If you wish to come up with more stringent proposals, it can be discussed in a committee report. So three-step process yan. Ating resolution, referral to her committee and have an investigation, and then eventually her own committee report. But it would be good if we pass a resolution immediately para
Today.
bukas.
Today, yes.
Yeah, today. Para bukas mapadala na natin sa DTI.
Sige po. So, hindi ko na rin po papatagalin yung usapan natin dito because klaro, violation of the law. I agree with the observation of the Senate President. And frankly, I'm quite disappointed na gano'n na nangyari because, DTI would have also the wherewithal. Would also have the people and to regulate the industry. But if this is what is happening, we are really disappointed because we put our trust on them, Mr. President.
On the institutions.
Sabi nila, kaya nila. So let them. I hope that they will be able to explain what's happening, Mr. President, during the
Thank you.
committee hearings.
It's the story of our lives as legislators. We passed the best possible laws, debated by both majority and minority. Eventually, we come up with the best possible laws. It's not fortunately implemented by the executive.
Salamat.
So thank you. Thank you
Salamat
for
po.
that.
Thank you to our
minority. Thank you.
sponsor. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President,
Yes, Madam.
may I also bring to the attention of the body, no? Kasi when both the minority floor leader, the majority floor leader, and the Senate President are on board, it makes me happy to take on the task that you present me, Your Honor. I'd like to point out, I'm asking my team if they can flash a photo. They're still trying to put it together. Their market survey showed that there are also accessories, yung mga pa-cute na bag na lalagyan ng vape. And these bags are also targeting the youth. Ganyan din ang itsura ng mga bag. Now, this is where, with Your Honor's permission, in my committee report that I intend to come out with after the proper hearing everybody, there are provisions on the bill that I filed which would have strictly regulated this industry that was not included in this final version of the e-cig regulation law. My version, Your Honors, had a provision restriction on advertising, sponsorship, and promotion. In any event, in any case, bawal, and my version specifically says accessories, such as but not limited to clips, bags, holder, lanyard. Kasi nila lanyard po yan, maliit lang ang vape. Nila lanyard yan, tapos yon. Pati yun, nilalagyan ng colors and images that are attractive to the youth. We already knew na may ganon. That's why our version already had that. Sadly nga, the narrative that this humble representation was trying to share maybe did not have enough traction. So hopefully now, under Your Honor's leadership, we can move forward and really protect the youth. Kasi you know how it is, no? The three gentlemen actually who spoke all have
Young kids.
young girls.
Yes.
Girls and boys. Girls and boys. It just so happened, My Melody and Hello Kitty yung pinag-usapan natin. But remember, the other picture I showed you was a cool skateboarder. Not that skateboarder isn't for girls. Marjeline Vidal is a female skateboarder, but I'm just saying they have their ways of making it attractive. This candy looking picture we have here is obviously attractive
It's not
to
even
both
attractive,
boys
it's
and
making
girls.
it cool. Making it
Yes.
cool and hip. Hip and cool.
Exactly,
For
Your
those who
Honor.
understand the lingo, it's sort of like it makes it attractive for that particular teenage set.
Yes.
that to belong
Yes.
to a particular
Mr.
hip and cool
President,
crowd.
it's more of pressuring, Mr. President. It's pressuring our young people to go into this because if you don't do this, you're not cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
If you
that
don't
this
have
is-
the accessories that
this is
go with
really
it.
Yes.
unacceptable, Mr. President.
No, let's do it right away.
Thank you, Your Honors. I would be very happy to work on this, Your Honor. Thank you for the
Thank
trust.
you. Thank you for bringing it out to the open today. Once again, it actually angers me because we already placed that, we were with you in making sure that all these flavors will not be included in the law because it will attract children and teenagers. So, Majority Leader, you
Mr.
want to make the
President.
motion?
Yes, Mr. President. I have two motions here, Mr. President. First, I move to refer the privileged speech of Senator Iya Cayetano, and the interpellations, manifestations by our colleagues calling for an investigation on the violation of the Vaporized Nicotine Regulation Act and all the interpellations and manifestations thereon to the Committee on Sustainable Development Goals, Innovation, and Futures Thinking, and the Committee on Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship. I so move, Mr. President.
There being no objection, motion is approved.
Mr. President, with the consent of the body and as initially suggested by our Senate President and the leadership of the Senate, Senator Loren Legarda, Senator J.V. Ejercito, and this representation, Minority Floor Leader, and the entire and those who are still here today, Mr. President, I move to adopt an unnumbered resolution expressing the sense of the Senate, calling the concerned agencies, especially the Department of Trade and Industries, condemning the situation in the sale and marketing of vape flavors and design targeting the youth. I so move, Mr. President,
It's a clear violation of the law.
which is a clear violation of the law.
I would suggest, with the permission of the body, we make all members.
Yes, Mr. President.
I think this is non-debatable because it's really a violation of the law anyway.
It's a
So,
clear violation of the law. Yes,
There
Mr.
being no
President.
objection, the unnamed resolution is hereby approved. And we will ask the Secretary to prepare resolution with the